The Tieandhoodieshow is sponsored by ICCLending.com. For real estate service, please go to ICCLending.com.
3, 2, 1.
Every human came to earth with a gift, and they must discover that gift and refine that gift for them to be fulfilled.
The prerequisite for spending time with any person is that they nourish and inspire you. They feed your flame.
Yo, hey man, how you work this radio?
You're now listening to the Tieandhoodieshow.
Keep it locked.
Owning a home and paying it off is one of the data points of an everyday millionaire.
Home sales across the U.S. are on the rise as buyers take advantage of record low mortgage rates.
Good morning.
Now let's get back to the Tieandhoodieshow.
Good morning. Hey, I'm always happy to be here. It's the Tieandhoodieshow right here on 93.5 KD. I'm your host, Travon Smith, also known as Trey, with my host, Andrea Jessicoba, president of ICC Lending and author of Credit Repair Simplified, which is one of my favorite books we'll be talking about periodically through our shows. This show is all about testimonies, positivity. We're trying to brighten up your week. The start of the week, we know some people might be getting off work. Some people might be going to work. Some people might be sitting on the porch with the grandkids, having coffee, tea. This is for you. This is all about what we're trying to do is help change your mind frame, help out with your goals as I'm trying to learn myself. Andrew, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, man. It's 6:30.
6:30 in the morning.
Early.
It's early.
We love getting out here early. We love waking people up and interjecting them with positivity. And, even though it's Sunday, if you get well prepared on a Sunday morning, your Monday is most likely going to be really productive generally, right?
It has to be. And I have a superstition. I go to bed early on Sunday nights. I don't know why. I go to bed early on Sunday nights because it makes me feel like I'm going to have a good week.
Yeah, I mean,
that's my preference.
It's always, for most people, it's hard to get up on Monday morning, but that wouldn't have a problem with that.
No, I'm waking up on Monday with goals in mind. Listen, a lot of people hit us up recently. They said, hey, I caught the tail end of the show. If you missed this show and you catch the tail end, and I'll be repeating it periodically throughout the show, you can go to tieandhoodieshow.com for all our past shows. Make sure you subscribe so you can be involved in prizes, giveaways, and upcoming events. Like I said, we always have great guests. I appreciate them for calling in. I always want to show some love. Today's guest is
an awesome gentleman all the way from Texas, right? Austin, Texas. And this gentleman right here has been a client in the past, but I've gotten to know him. I've gotten to know his story a little bit. And I just feel like he's going to bless our listeners today. His name is Kobla Tetey. Mr. Tetey, welcome to our show.
What is going on, gentlemen? How are you doing today? I hear you getting everybody up and ready early in the morning. I'm about it. I do want to tell you one thing. I do have a hoodie on currently right now as we speak. So let you know that the tie and hoodie game is where it needs to be. And my hoodie, I'm going to let you know what it says, too. My hoodie says Roots.
Roots.
And I'm going to tell you briefly why I got this. It says Roots. And the reason why I got this hoodie is because when I was a little kid, I went to a school called Roots Activity Learning Center. My parents put me in a school called Roots in D.C. And Roots was about Afrocentric learning and making sure we knew what our core was and where we came from. And that was the basis of the learning. So, of course, when I saw this hoodie saying Roots, I was like, I got to get that. So I got my hoodie on and I'm ready.
Well, we would love you to take a picture of you and that hoodie, send it to us so we can post it on our website and our social media so people can really enjoy that. But on a jealous note, though, I'm jealous because you're not wearing a tie,
Hey, because Mr. Kobla, Andrew always gets mad because everybody always sides with me. It's the hoodie crew over here.
The hoodie crew over there. I'm here. I'm here with my tie, and you're telling me you're wearing a hoodie. I thought you was a corporate guy, but it is what it is.
Yeah, well, this is how we're gonna compromise this. I'm gonna buy a hoodie that's got a tie logo on the front of it.
I like that.
good there.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. So just you were just talking about wearing a hoodie that has roots on it. So you're giving us a little preview of your background, and we understand that just tell us a little. Just take a minute here to tell us your history real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm literally African American. My dad is from Ghana. My mom is from D.C. I was born in D.C. Born and raised there. Went to high school in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And from Florida, went back to D.C. for school. And then after I left, went to D.C. for school, went to Orlando to go to school again. Moved to Miami. Worked in Miami. Moved to Atlanta. Lived in Atlanta. Then moved to Dallas. And then moved to Austin. So I've been around. I've been in major cities my whole life. So that's a little backstory on where I came from. I take a lot of pride in being from D.C., Chocolate City as they call it. I just love the balance, the intelligence of the people there, what you can get, what you can learn, the diversity, and just it's just a wealth of information. So that's a little short backdrop about me.
So where did you go to college, and what did you graduate in?
Awesome. So, I went to University of Maryland, and I went to Bowie State. I graduated with a degree in communications and media management. And then I always enjoyed music. I was about music. So after that, I went to school for audio engineering. That's why I went to Orlando. Went to school for audio engineering. And then the reason why I was in Miami is because I was working in a recording studio, a major recording studio, for almost 2 years. So I was fortunate in that to work with, all the superstars you can name. And had that experience. And then I moved to Atlanta from there. So, communications and media management. And then my second degree was in audio engineering.
Awesome. And after you got that, I know you had a full-time job at a company where we had met, when I was trying to do some work in terms of financing. So tell us a little bit about that and,
Yeah, so the company that I was with before my latest venture was a company I actually started with in Atlanta. And funny enough, when I started with that company, I went in there not expecting to do anything. I was just like, hey, it's just a warehouse position. And you know what I mean? I'll take it. And I was working 2 jobs. I've always had multiple jobs. So in college, I had 2 jobs while I was working in undergrad or while I was going to undergrad. Like everybody knew that if you asked me to go out or go to do something, I was going to say no because I had work to do.
Okay.
And people would always ask me, well, why do you do all those jobs? And I was like, so I don't have to do them later.
Okay.
So I was willing to sacrifice whatever I needed to sacrifice to do what I wanted to do later. And so that segued, you know what I mean, from that time on. And then the job that I was with, they promoted me to Dallas. And, I was in Atlanta. I was loving Atlanta. And they were like, well, how about an opportunity in Dallas? And if anybody's from the East Coast, we don't necessarily regard Texas as the best place to want to move to. But it was an opportunity that presented itself. I asked my 4 constituents, and I made that jump, moved to Dallas, and then that's how I got to Austin. I got promoted again and moved to Austin.
Mr. Kobla, it's a couple things that I heard in there. I was just telling Andrew before, I'm in the stories. I'm in the testimonies and hearing the people come from success and go through their if need be, we may say trials and tribulations of success. There's one thing I always tell my son, what you said. It's either work hard now, or you're going to work hard later, but you're going to work hard. and I heard you say that, hey, that's why I work 3 jobs. I want to talk a little bit about your transition from the studio to what you do now, because a lot of people may not understand that transition, and that's something Andrew knows me personally. I went through as well, because I was at a full-time gig on radio, and I decided to transition. But some people may not understand because they be like, oh, that's the dream job. That's the dream job. Why is it that you transition?
So that's a great question. So I absolutely love music. Music moves me. When I create music, I get emotional. It taps my soul. And so that was a great opportunity, right? And so I was working in a major studio with a lot of artists. But when you do that and as you're building that career, you don't make a lot of money until you get to a certain level, as with most things. And so when I was going through that process, artists don't work at normal hours. They work at night. Exactly. You know what I mean? They work whenever. So in order to keep that job, I had to stay with my folks, even though I had finished school. And that coming in and out of the house at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, even though I was doing absolutely nothing, was not going to cut it. And so my parents were like, hey, you got to move it to your own place, which I was okay with. But I understood that if I had to move in my own place, I had to get another job. And when I had to get another job, what that did was that reduced my availability for the studio. And the moment you say no, when asked if you can work a session, yeah, you're not going to be working a lot of sessions after that. So long story short, I had to say no because I had to pay my mortgage, pay my rent. And so I did that and made the sacrifice. And I knew as soon as that decision was made, I was like, oh, this is not going to last much longer. And it didn't. And my second thought was, if I'm not working in a recording studio and working with artists and music, I'm not going to live in Miami because I just didn't want to live there. And so I left. And that was the reason I left. So I transitioned. And then even at that time, I was in a space of unknown. And I think that's extremely important because the unknown is a good space to be in. When you sit still in the unknown, it allows you to get direction and clarity. There are a lot of times where we're in the seeking mindset where we feel like we always need to seek something and do something. And that is a construct of where we live. And that is not always true. There are times when you need to sit still and allow what is supposed to come to you to come to you. So in that space, I was in the space of unknown. I wasn't sure what I was going to do next. And it just so happened that I transferred my job working at Sam's Club, and somebody at Sam's Club was like, hey, my brother just fired everybody at this job. Do you want to work there? And I was asked the guy, I said, what are the hours? And he said 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. I was like, those are the best hours ever. I was like, I'll take it. So I was working at night, and then I would go leave work at night and then go to work in the morning from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And so I did that for a period of time to make sure that I could make the sacrifice for the things I needed to pay for, i.e. rent, mortgage, etc. And so that's when I transitioned into what ironically was a field that aligned perfectly with my first degree of communications, because it was telecommunications. And so we did that, and then I just outwork everybody. So I can learn fast. I learn quick. That's a testament to the genes that were passed down to me. I'm not going to take any credit for it. You know what I mean? From my mother to my, father, whatever I passed down to me. So my aptitude level to pick things up quickly is good. And people saw that and saw I was motivated to work, and they kept pushing me forward. So like, hey, what do you think about this next job? I was like, I can do anything. And then they pushed me into that position. And then they pushed me into another position. And so for the first 5 years of working in that company, I got promoted every single year. And so it was like the fastest that anybody had ever been promoted, and from a level that no one had been promoted from, meaning the position that I was in. And then once I was in Dallas and I had moved to, long story short, rearrange and fix something that was extremely profitable and had gone down the tubes. That was my goal. They were like, we need to go out there and fix it. And that's exactly what we did. We changed the culture and the dynamic of what was going on there. And we fixed it, and it became profitable. That region became profitable. So it became the number one profiting region in the company. And from that point, they were like, well, since you've done that, can you go do this same thing in another location as a director of operations? And I was like, absolutely. And so I was moved. And the good thing along that way, as we talk about various things, along that whole way, I had sponsors and people who were always willing to help. And I think that's because there was always a level of vulnerability, and there was, from my part, to say what I do or do not know, and always clarity on telling people I want to do more. How can I do more? And always asking for feedback to say, hey, where can I improve? Where do you see me? Where can I get better at? So that was that journey.
Well, I there's a couple things that you've mentioned in your story, which I think I want to draw out into our audience so they can understand. You mentioned something that really resonates to me, which I do, religiously. Sit still and let it come to you. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you can get into this mode of worry, and you're thinking all about solution, but you're not sitting still and let the solutions come to you in your thought process. And that's something that I think people don't practice. Some people call it meditation, some people call it quiet time, but I think it's very, very important for you. Life is so vast where if you don't sit still and say, okay, wait, what am I really doing? Should I be doing this? And I think that's something that, I think you really kind of said that blessed me a lot today. The other thing that you said was that you outwork everybody. I mean, there's no way you can get to a position where you want to be at in life without putting in the work. And it's not just, let me go to work from 9 to 5. No, when you outwork everybody, that means you're not thinking about the clock. You're trying to outwork everybody for real. Isn't that the case?
And even as you said that, I think one thing that's extremely important to that statement is outwork everybody doesn't always mean that you have to put your hands on something all the time. Outwork everybody means you have a willingness and a desire to grow and learn. And that's what that is. Because if you have a desire to grow and learn, everybody's always like, chase money or go after the money. Nope. Go after growth and learning, because if you go after those things, you begin to provide more value. As you provide more value, people want you to do more things, or they want to give you more money because you've made yourself an important part of the team. So chasing growth and learning is how you outwork people. It's like a willingness to learn something you're doing. You're doing something consistent. You're like, I got that. I need to learn something else. Hey, can I learn something else? Sure. Teach it to me, or I'll go read a book, or I'll do everything. So I just want to make sure to emphasize that outworking people could just be being creative. It could be being intuitive. It could mean being innovative.
Mr. Kobla.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that I just do paperwork more. Yes, sir. Didn't it?
No. Hey, I love the energy that we're giving this morning, because there's people DMing us right now and emailing us right now, and they're saying that they love your story. What is it that you can tell somebody right now, like I said, getting off work, making that $15, $16, $17 or whatnot, it's getting off work right now, or somebody going to work right now? What inspiration can you give them? This is what we try to bring from the Tie and Hoodie Show. What inspiration can you give them and tell them that there's light at the end of the tunnel?
So, great question. So I think the main thing that and this can be a privileged point of view, but I think a lot of times we get in a mode and we're set in a viewpoint and we stay within that viewpoint. And what I would encourage everybody to do is, when in doubt, break something. And what I mean by that, when I say break something, is get out of the comfortability or the construct of the lane that you're in. If that means go hanging out with a new group of people, go do it. If that means doing something that you've never done before, go do it. And the reason I say that is because as you grow and get more and more experiences in your life, if you feed it one thing, it only knows one thing. If you feed it many things, it's like, what else is there? There's more stuff? Can you feed me some more? And the hunger gets crazy. I say all that to say, a lot of times your reality is most certainly your perspective. You could be in survival mode, you could be in a different mode, but whatever you see is what you create. And that's a dynamic that can be difficult to move within, but whatever you see, you create. So that essentially means you can create anything. And let me touch on that, and then I'll pass it back to you. When you have a thought that is outside of the construct of your normal thoughts, your brain literally creates a new neural pathway and begins to fire differently, which then has a physiological impact on your body, which changes you immediately. So when we say your thoughts cause change, they most certainly do. And when we have a habit of doing something consistently, we're firing the same way, and it becomes like mundane. You're not learning anything because your brain gets used to firing in a certain way. The moment you shift that thought just a little bit and you begin to believe that thing, whatever it is, then your body literally changes. And that's the thing. You have to believe it, and believing it. And that can be difficult. You know what I mean? It can be difficult. But a lot of times, as Andrew stated, a lot of times we get anxiety because we're not sitting still and we're projecting the future. But when you're present in the moment, right in the moment, not thinking about what's in the future and not thinking about what's in the past, and appreciating the things that are in front of you right now, and realizing that the future is the present. Because when you wake up tomorrow, it'll be today. And when you wake up the next day, it'll be today. And when you wake up that third day, it's going to be today. So anything you think you can do, you're already doing it. You just have to get your mindset that you are already doing it, and believe and have that feeling, and let that thing soak into your body, and you'll be amazed at where you go. Because everybody on I promise you, almost everybody that listens to you, and you two gentlemen, at some point in time said, I'm going to do something. And because you had so much conviction, it worked out. Whatever it was, whether that was riding a bike, getting on a skateboard, whether that was getting a new job. The thing is, sometimes when we expect it to happen, it's not when it actually happens. And sometimes we lose steam. But if you stay true, it's going down.
So let's talk about this word called, we've talked about mindset. We've talked about goal setting. We've talked about outworking people. We've talked about hustling. How can I do more? But getting to a situation or getting to a goal, let's talk about patience. Tell us about how much patience have you had to endure to go from where you were to where you are now? And I want to make that really kind of short, but at the same time, we want to still also jump into where you're going also.
Yeah. So I think patience is, once again, it can't be seen. I think patience a lot of times is seen as like a flaw sometimes. When dealing with, so what are you about to do? And you're like, similar to what we said earlier, I'm just going to sit still. It's being able to be centered enough to have the patience to know that what is coming to you is coming to you. So for instance, as we segue to the next thing, when I lost my job, everybody's like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. And I even talked to you, Andrew. I was like, because we were talking about refinancing at the time. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really sure. I think I'm going to sit still. Well, that sit still ended up being 8 months. 8 months.
So when did you lose? Give us specifics. When did you about how much were you making, and when did you lose your job?
So I was probably making about $132,000 a year.
Okay. I
lost my job in December.
Okay.
I didn't get a new job until about a month ago.
Okay.
And so during that time, as I sat still, a lot of people were like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm going to sit still. And whatever's supposed to come will come. And so that's where the patience lies in. Because if I began to go into the seeking mindset, like I gotta get, because of fear, like if I don't get this thing's gonna happen, and then it's gonna cause this. Then I'm not moving in a space that is allotted to me to flourish the most, in my opinion. So I sat still. And people would say, your network, you probably get a job, and everybody knows you in Austin. You get a job in 2 seconds.
I was one of those who was even trying to offer you a job. And you're like, no, I'm sitting still. I'm like, what is this man talking about? You have so much knowledge. I mean, you could be doing something, but you sat still for 8 months because you were waiting, for the right opportunity to show up. Is that kind of what you're saying, right?
That is accurate, and it's just, once again, it's allowing as opposed to seeking.
Look, Mr. Kobla, I'm sitting here. Look, everybody knows I talk a lot. I'm sitting here listening because he didn't take us to church early on a Sunday morning. I'm trying to hear. I'm trying to hear where we going. What is it that your next plan or your next steps? I'm trying to hear it. I'm taking notes, brother. Look, keep it going.
Absolutely. So I think one thing that I always had a baseline for was community. And community has always been important to me because it's always been something that's nurtured me. So what I've noticed is, as you do things in life, the first thing you have to do is take care of yourself. And the reason why I say that is because when you take care of yourself and you invest in yourself, you are essentially investing in others. We are all connected. Though we like to think that we're not, we are. And the only way that I can make a true investment in you is if I make a true investment in myself. The reason I say that is because that also leads to a avenue to continue to be selfless and serve others. Because if you're serving others and you can see yourself in others, once again, you're serving yourself because we're all connected. So having that mindset, as I was sitting for the 8 months, I had already been plotting on some things that I looked at in terms of opportunity zones. And I saw them and I was like, this is an opportunity for African Americans to pool wealth to impact areas in every city that traditionally have not been invested in. And that might be a way for us to change the dynamic of home ownership and equity building. So, of course, for like 8 months, prior to that, I was already doing my research. But when I lost my job, I was like, yeah, it's about that time. I had already set everything up to pay for incorporation, but I just hadn't done it yet. As soon as I lost my job, I was like, yeah, time to pay for incorporation, even though I didn't want to spend the money. So I did. And in that time, I continued to do my research and began to set up the idea of the company that I currently have, which is called Break the Box. And long story short, what Break the Box is an opportunity zone fund meant for young minority professionals who've had systematic and psychological barriers to entry. We're easing the pathway into equity building and home ownership because ultimately we want everybody to be able to participate in a wealth ecosystem. And so that's what I created. And in this time, during this 8 months, it was just refining the idea and hashing out the idea, like, how can I help more people? How many people do I need to help in order for it to have an impact in Austin? And if I can have an impact in Austin, can I have an impact in another city? Well, if I do it well here, how can I make this work for everybody? doing customer discovery, having phone calls with people to get an understanding, make sure my assumptions align with what they were saying was the issue, and getting that type of alignment. And then that segued into putting the company into a social innovation incubator, which I didn't know if we were going to make it or not, but we did. And so that provided a set of resources and tools to make sure that the business idea was refined. And ironically, even now, we're about to get out of that incubator. I've already had other people not only ask me to go into other incubators that are quote-unquote step-ups, whatever you want to call it, but I've had people offer me money already. And I'm like, no, because I want to make sure that everything's sound, that structure is sound, because ultimately this is about helping my community grow. And ultimately, if I help my community grow, everybody wins. We got to get out of this thought that everybody can't win. And that's a perspective, and that's a lack of abundance. But that's also capitalism, because capitalism is a scarcity model. But our culture, our African culture, it's all about community. You know what I mean? And so when we were here and segregated, we were all about community. We had no choice. So that family structure, when that broke down and we moved away from one another, the connectivity was lost. I can't give you a cup of sugar now. You live 50 miles away from me. I can't watch your kids now. You live 20 miles down the street. So how do you bring that community back? And how do you structure it in a manner that allows everybody to benefit and not just one group of people? So that's where I'm at now.
So tell us, what's the name of your organization, and what are you? I mean, how can people connect with you? You know, I mean, we know you're talking to us from all the way from Texas, and we're here in Southern California. How can we find you online? How can people connect, or how can we participate in what you're doing?
Absolutely. So right now, we are finalizing the website. I just finished writing a white paper so that people can get a true understanding of the steps that we're taking in order to execute. But you can contact me. So the name of my company is called Break the Box. And that's the premise. I never like being put in a break the box.
Okay.
And the reason why it's called Break the Box is because I'm not a fan of being placed in a construct of thought that you have. I'm going to do whatever I want to do, how I want to do it, because I can, because I think so. So that means breaking the mold, and thus breaking the box. If you guys want to contact me, right now, because our website is being formulated as we speak, you can contact me on LinkedIn. So it's Kobla Tetey. And if you search me on LinkedIn, there's not a lot of Kobla Tetey, so you should find me very easily. And that also has a couple of posts that talk about the incubator that we're in. And then I also have a post underneath that asks people who want to go through an interview with us, for a customer discovery interview, to give their feedback and thoughts. For people who are renting, that are thinking about home buyers, or even home buyers that have gone through the process. And that's a part of our customer discovery phase, to ensure that everything that we think is going to work is actually going to work. So those are actually on my page currently. So I would definitely funnel people to LinkedIn. And from there, I will post the website and the white paper and all of that good stuff as soon as we get that up.
Mr. Kobla, I want to personally thank you for you calling in all the way from Texas to talk to these LA listeners and listeners around the world, and blessing us and giving us the opportunity to hear your story. That is an amazing story because of your testimony and what you've been through and what you've overcame and what you now are. So I just want to personally thank you, man, and I'm glad that I have a chance to be a part of a show where we can share testimonies from brothers like you, and let people know that there is, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is a chance for a change. And the overall thing that I don't know if everybody caught it, always learned the slogan growing up and through corporate offices, and it was saying, speak it into an existence. You have to believe it, speak it into an existence, man. I'm glad that you had a chance to, hang out with us this morning. I want to talk to our listeners. If you just caught the tail end of this, this is a show you must hear again over and over until you decide to get your mind right. You can go to Tieandhoodieshow.com. The Tieandhoodieshow.com. All our social media is on there. This show and every show is sponsored by ICClending.com. Andrew, give us some words before we get out of here.
As usual, all of our guests, Mr. Kobla Tetey. I mean, in case people are wondering, I just want to make sure I'm spelling your name right. Kobla Tetey, right?
That is correct, sir.
Correct. So we're gonna link you up on our website. We're gonna connect to your LinkedIn profile so people can connect with you. And, hopefully in the next couple months, we'd like to bring you back on and hear more about what you're saying. And I think, with your organization, Break the Box, I think it's important for people to understand that don't sit still. Don't let a label be put on you. I mean, in my case, I'm all the way from Nigeria, and I'm here trying to do the best I can. And that's why we're bringing you all of these other people to let you know that, as brothers and sisters, as minorities, we can always go a step above, what people think we can accomplish. I mean, the sky is the limit, right? So, Mr. Kobla, thank you so much for coming in. Any last words you want to say before we wrap this up?
Yeah, absolutely. First thing I want to say is thank you, gentlemen, for even speaking to me and giving me the opportunity to speak and allowing me this time with you two gentlemen. So I'm extremely gracious and appreciative and thankful for that. And secondly, the one thing that I wanted to say just to close out is, I think if we begin to see others or see ourselves in others, the sky's the limit. Not as a different person, not as somebody that's separate, but see yourself in every other individual that you meet and you're in contact with. And if you take that brief moment to see yourself in that person, the level of empathy and the level of communication, connectivity, etc., it begins to build and grow, and then we truly do become a community.
Man, thank you once again, Mr. Kobla. We'll have our people reach out to you and get you back on once again. K-Day community, K-Day listeners, K-Day everybody, we appreciate you for listening. Thank you for checking us out. We'll see you guys next week.
Hey, do you have valuable information that can help your community?
Okay.
And you'd like to be a guest? Hit us on our social media.
Do it now.
The Tieandhoodieshow Show is sponsored by ICCLending.com. For real estate service, please go to ICCLending.com.